Struggling nurse's amazing blood donation to unknown patient reveals a surprising CEO single dad. Emily wiped the sweat from her brow, steadying herself against the cold, sterile wall of the hospital corridor. It was a grueling shift. The blending of fluorescent lights and the echoing beeps from the machines had started to fray her nerves. Bills piled up at home, rent, groceries, doctor appointments for her spirited son, Ben. As a single mother and a dedicated nurse, every day felt like an uphill battle against exhaustion. Yet, in the back of her mind, looming ever larger, was the dream of returning to school for her nursing degree, a hope that slowly ebbed away with each passing month. "Emily," called out a fellow nurse, jerking her from her spiraling thoughts. "Look at this." She held up a flyer, vibrant hues demanding attention. It detailed a desperate need for blood donations. The hospital was on the brink of a crisis, desperately needing volunteers to help those who might otherwise be lost. For a moment, the weight of her chaotic routine lifted. Donating wasn't just an act of kindness, it could be a lifeline for someone in need, but was she really capable of that? She hesitated, mind racing. The intense rhythm of her world conflicted with the desire to help. How could she carve out time between shifts and parenting? Perhaps this was a way to fight back against the gnawing weight of financial struggles. Maybe it could turn the tide in her favor. Just this once. The decision felt monumental, but she felt the urge to push through the exhaustion, to do something meaningful despite it all. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. That evening, she laid on the table, the needle prick hardly registering through the haze of fatigue. Later, she learned her donation had saved a life. David, a high-profile tech CEO, known for his success but also for the personal losses that plagued him. When their paths crossed again during his follow-up appointment, she couldn't shake the immediate connection. He looked different from the suits and ties flaunted in business magazines. Instead, he appeared vulnerable, a devoted dad struggling with life, a reflection of her own chaotic world. Yet, the more they bonded over their shared struggles, the greater her worries grew. She flitted between feeling uplifted by his praise and crushed by self-doubt. Did her humble background clash too severely with his world built on wealth and status? Could their differences unravel the tender moments they shared? Each serene conversation was tangled with the thread of unworthiness, lingering in the back of her thoughts. Just when Emily started to believe she could pursue happiness, David faced a devastating blow. News broke that his company was threatened by internal sabotage. Panic jolted through her as she processed the implications. Could he lose everything just as they began to connect? The fear gripped her, the very future blooming at the edges of her grasp felt precarious. How could they ever form a family when the relentless pressure of the world loomed larger each day? Each encounter strained beneath the weight of uncertainty. As she stared into Ben's innocent eyes, a new reality emerged. Could she risk her heart in a world determined to tear them apart? Desperation churned within her, knowing that in love, in life, everything hinged on the choices they both have to confront. And as pressure mounted, anguish clawed at her heart. Every step forward felt like a leap into the unknown. Emily stood in front of the bathroom mirror, the fluorescent lights reflecting her fatigue and the remnants of self-doubt shadowing her features. She splashed cold water on her face, a temporary relief from the swirling uncertainties that seemed to define her life. Each drip ran down her cheeks, carrying away fragments of the overwhelming thoughts of the financial burdens, her single-parent responsibilities, and the blossoming connection she felt with David. But it was the last thought that pressed down most heavily. Could she genuinely belong in his world? With Ben at school, she had a rare moment of solitude, a pocket of time that felt as fleeting as her semblance of control. The examination of her aspirations weighed heavily on her mind. Returning to school was once a flicker of light in an otherwise monochrome existence, and yet she had let it dim, focusing instead on her immediate struggles. Could she revive that dream? The questions spiraled endlessly, taunting her with notions of failure and inadequacy. As she maneuvered through her shift at the hospital, a realization began to blossom within her. Perhaps this was more than just an urge to improve her lot, it was an opportunity for empowerment. Her interaction with David had ignited something inside her, an understanding that life wouldn't simply hand over chances, she had to seize them, even amidst chaos. "Hey, Emily." The voice jolted her back to the present. It was Sarah, her colleague, with her usual infectious energy. "Are you ready to tackle the new protocols for the ER? They're planning to put us all through a training session next week." Training. In that word, Emily felt the resonance of something more, an improvement, not just professionally but personally as well. They hadn't spoken of their financial struggles, the exhaustion of night shifts, or the complexities of raising a child alone. But here was a chance to grow, to learn more than the routine operations of a hospital. She felt a stirring determination to embrace this opportunity. "Sure. I'd love to. When do we start?" she replied, forcing a smile against the anxiety building in her stomach. It would mean juggling her already packed schedule, but the idea of learning invigorated her. If David could withstand the corporate storm looming over him, perhaps she could use the little time she had for something just as meaningful. Over the next few shifts, Emily poured herself into the training sessions, her passion reigniting as she absorbed new knowledge. Each moment fueled her confidence, warding off the shadows of self-doubt. She uncovered a knack for leadership that she previously underestimated. Questions flowed more freely from her lips, ideas sprang forth without hesitation. Her colleagues recognized it, too, frequently seeking her insights during discussions. Yet, with this new sense of purpose came a fear: could her growing ambition mesh with the daunting reality of David's world? She vividly recalled their conversations filled with shared vulnerability. Was she now subconsciously competing with him? The fear gnawed at her, threatening to diminish the connection they had formed. One evening, after a long shift, Emily found herself staring at her phone, David's number present among the contacts but unpressed. What if he had changed in light of his challenges? Would calling him now feel like an intrusion? That lingering doubt brought her back to her own struggles. The thought of risking their relationship to enhance her ambitions felt like a double-edged sword. Finally, against the din of her inner conflict, she hit call. The phone rang, each chime echoing her heartbeat as she fought against the urge to hang up. How to navigate this new layer of her life? Just as she was about to lose her nerve, David's voice broke through her tension. "Emily." In that moment, the stakes felt immeasurable. As she hesitated, staring at her reflection in the darkened screen, all at once she understood, it was not merely about him or her, but the shared journey ahead that awaited both of them. The realization hit her. This was the time to confront her feelings, to defend what she had started to build. With one deep breath, she found the strength to dive headfirst into the unknown, not just for her own sake, but for Ben, for herself, and for whatever lay ahead with David. As the conversation unfolded, she felt a profound shift within. The road to growth was entwined with uncertainty, and how she navigated it could define both their futures. What new conflicts awaited them as they faced the impending storm together? The human heart, resilient yet vulnerable, was about to embark on an uncharted journey. As Emily hung up the phone, the residual warmth of David's voice lingered in her mind, wrapping around her like a soft blanket. They had ended the conversation on a hopeful note, but uncertainty still lay like a weight in her stomach. Could she truly integrate her growing ambitions with her personal life, especially when it came to David? With renewed purpose, she pressed on through her shifts at the hospital. Each day felt like a battle against the tides of doubt threatening to pull her under. Yet, during breaks, Emily found herself daydreaming about her future, envisioning a world where she could be both a competent nurse and a loving mother, perhaps even a partner who could stand beside David without feeling lessened by it all. Her training sessions continued, and Emily became the unofficial go-to person for her peers, her confidence soaring with each question she deftly addressed. However, the happiness she felt was often shadowed by a lurking worry. The more proficient she became, the more the potential for distance grew between her and David. Would her professional growth create an insurmountable wedge in their relationship? One afternoon, Sarah approached her during a particularly demanding shift. "You're really blossoming, Emily," she said with a sincere smile. "What's your secret?" Emily shrugged, a small smile playing on her lips. "Just trying to do my best. It feels good to make a difference." Yet, her heart raced as thoughts of David crept back in. Make a difference? That sounds like a calling. Have you thought about furthering your education? Sarah's enthusiasm was genuine. "I have," Emily admitted, her voice uncertain. "But I'm not sure I could manage it all. My studies, Ben, my life," and she hesitated, feeling exposed. "And your relationship with David?" Sarah interjected softly. The question sat heavily between them. How to navigate the tightrope of ambition and intimacy was an enigma she couldn't solve. Seeking a distraction, Emily tuned back into her shift, but Sarah's words echoed in her mind, illuminating the path she both feared and yearned to traverse. Days morphed into weeks, and the training sessions came to an end. Emily stood in the hospital's break room, surrounded by her colleagues, all of them buzzing with excitement. She felt a fresh breath of strength, a sense of belonging that transcended mere job titles or responsibilities. Yet David's image blinked, unrelenting. In the back of her mind, the following weekend, she decided to put her uncertainties aside for just a moment and joined Ben for a local charity event meant to promote community health. There among families and children, he beamed with enthusiasm, his laughter infectious. Emily's heart swelled with love as she watched him interact with other kids, fear forgotten. But something curious happened. As she stood at the donation booth, she spotted a tall figure across the way, a familiar face among the crowd. David was there, deep in conversation with the director of the charity. The sight of him sparked an unexpected thrill, and before she could anticipate her actions, she was walking toward him, her pulse quickening. "Emily." David greeted her, his eyes lighting up, but it was the people around him, successful professionals, their laughter spilling effortlessly into the air that made her acutely aware of their differences. For a moment, she felt small, the exhilaration draining from her expression. As they chatted, Emily caught fragments of conversation, ideas of expansion, charitable initiatives, and corporate strategy. These subjects seemed worlds apart from the life she had led. While David thrived, surrounded by high-powered individuals, Emily felt herself retreat, their professional language slipping past her. How could she fit into this world, or should she even attempt to? Anxiety brewed as they continued to talk, her professional aspirations colliding violently with her self-image. The stakes had shifted. It was not just about her and David alone anymore, but about the lives they were building apart and together. "Would you like to join us for dinner? I think it'd be a nice way for us to catch up," David invited, a genuine hopefulness in his tone. Emily hesitated, her heart racing at the thought. Dinner? In that world? What would she say? Would he want to hear her about her dreams, or would he only see the distance between them widen as she navigated the uncharted waters of ambition? The invitation loomed large over her, a fork in the road beckoning her desire for connection and her fears of inadequacy. What would she choose to do next? She stood there, the weight of the moment sinking in, knowing that her answer could change everything between them. Emily felt the weight of the moment compress around her, the noise of the charity event fading into an almost dreamlike background. David's bright eyes, glimmering with expectation, shifted something inside her. She thought of the possibilities. The invitation was an opening, a chance for connection, yet beneath that glimmer was uncertainty, like a shadow trailing behind her hopes. She could taste the potential for growth, both personally and professionally, but could she clasp it tightly without losing herself? "Are you free? I would really love to catch up," David pressed, the earnestness in his voice amplifying the conflict inside her. His world represented success, a realm of ambition, networking, and innovation. It was alluring yet intimidating, and she didn't know how to navigate this newfound complexity. In that moment, a decision crystallized, not just about dinner but about the tilt of her entire future. "I could join, yes. I mean, I'd love to, she heard herself say, her heart quickening at the admission. The thought of a sophisticated dinner triggered a visceral fear, one heightened by visions of herself stumbling over words, grappling to find common ground between their disparate worlds. As the dinner approached, Emily wrestled with growing anxiety. How could she articulate her aspirations, her desire to evolve in her profession while still nurturing her relationship with David? Each night before sleep claimed her, she imagined conversations filled with understanding, laughter flowing effortlessly, and shared dreams aligning perfectly. Yet, every time fear poked at those dreams, reminding her of her insecurities, threatening to unravel her burgeoning confidence, the evening of the dinner arrived, and Emily donned a simple but elegant dress, carefully opting for comfort over pretentiousness. She practiced lifting her chin, embodying the self-assured nurse her colleagues admired. Yet, as she approached the upscale restaurant, her resolve began to quaver. Patrons in polished outfits conversed animatedly, the atmosphere soaked in aspirations and high-stakes chatter. She almost turned back, but two spirals of stilted professionalism, a nagging comparison with David's life and a fierce pull of determination rooted her in place. David stood under the soft glow of the lights, effortlessly magnetic amidst the throng of clientele. He greeted her with warmth and uplifted her spirits. In the soft corner of the restaurant, they settled into a conversation painted with timid exchanges, teetering on the precipice of honesty. "I am proud of you, Emily." Rising quickly through the hospital, "I've heard great things," he said, his face glowing with pride. "Thank you, but it comes with its own challenges," Emily offered, gauging how much vulnerability she could reveal without diverging too far into the depths of her uncertainties. Their discussion weaved through the things that filled David's life-work projects, strategies for organizational growth, and philanthropic initiatives. Her heart sank at first as she tried to share her experiences working with patients. The professional lexicon slipped away from her, like faint whispers in an expansive hall. However, as she began to recount stories of healing and resilience, pieces of her passion emerged. "Every recovery is a story," she spoke animatedly, her hands dancing in the air. "Contributing to a patient's life feels rewarding in ways I never imagined. I want to explore how I can make an even bigger impact." A moment's silence stretched between them, and she held her breath, afraid his world would call attention to her limitations. Instead, David leaned in, interest shining in his expression. "You have a powerful vision, Emily. You should consider pursuing more formal education, expand your parameters." A flicker of recognition stirred within her. His encouragement echoed Sarah's. Whether that meant investing in school or honing her craft, the boldness of her ambitions collided with the truths she had hidden. But fear possessed her too. What if in doing so she chased vacancy through the corridors of their relationship? Would pursuing personal triumph escalate that fracture? Emily felt a tumultuous tide rising in her chest. But pursuing more education, it means investing so much time, and what if it causes a rift between us? David paused, confirming her fears were tangible. All of their careers depended on choices made in the present, and now she stood at a choice obstructed by potential peril. Her mind spun, questioning what roads lay ahead, lined with opportunity while seeking to maintain attachment. Waiting for his response felt like a lifetime. Finally, David replied, "If you're passionate about it, you owe it to yourself to explore that side. I'll support you no matter what." The conviction welding itself together between them felt solid now, yet apprehension threatened to resurface. They were approaching the crossroads where her aspirations and their shared future converged. But what lay ahead? Feeling the weight of her choices, she sensed they could forge a path to mutual growth or irrevocably alter the course of their connection. As the evening drew to a close, Emily felt something shift, a new resolve flickered to life. She wasn't afraid to dream anymore. In that moment, she recognized the importance of honoring her passion, but confronting the unknown that accompanied it loomed over her like a specter. Amidst residual warmth from their conversation, Emily's mind buzzed with questions. Could she truly embrace this path without sacrificing their relationship? As they left the restaurant, the night air cold against her face, she realized her next steps would demand more than acknowledgement of her choices. She must act. The urge electrified her, to seize growth now or risk letting it slip through her fingers. That thrilling uncertainty, a potential awaited, ripe for exploration. Would Emily embrace the tumultuous journey ahead, and could it catalyze new beginnings for both her professional aspirations and her bond with David? As the light breeze nudged Emily forward, the cool air stung her cheeks and snapped her back to reality. Her heart raced, not just from the chill but from the weight of the decisions ahead. She had shared desires openly for the first time with David, and now the burden of those ambitions filled her thoughts. What would pursuing further education mean? Would she dive into classes that swallowed her evenings, pulling her from the warmth of shared moments? Those questions clawed at her, offering no easy answers as they walked side by side, the city bustling around them. The following morning, the hospital buzzed with activity, yet Emily felt adrift, caught between her routine and an awakening hunger for growth. She entered her department with the familiar sounds: medical charts rustling, nurses recounting patient experiences, and the distant beeping of machines. It was a world she knew well, but one that suddenly felt small. She sat down at the nurse's station, her friends engulfed in their duties, but this morning, the camaraderie felt different. Their laughter echoed in a space that felt like a cage of familiarity. Emily longed to share her newfound resolve, her desire to evolve, yet hesitation curled tightly around her. Would they understand? Would they support her in the transformation she envisioned? One of her colleagues, Sarah, stopped short. "Hey, Emily. Everything okay? You seem lost in thought." Taking a breath, Emily decided to test the waters. "I was thinking about pursuing a master's degree, but I'm nervous about balancing it with work." A chorus of voices chimed in, their opinions swarming around her like bees. "You should go for it," chimed Lisa, a nurse known for her unwavering belief in professional development. "You'll be a phenomenal nurse practitioner." "But what if it makes things too complicated?" Emily hesitated, uncertainty clouding her excitement like a summer storm. "Complicated is a part of growth," Sarah replied, leaning closer. "Just remember, no one succeeds alone. You can count on us. We'll support you." The warmth of their encouragement sent fractals of hope scattering through Emily's heart. Perhaps this was not an age of solitude, perhaps she could rely on her support system. The realization that she didn't have to shoulder this journey alone made her ambition feel less burdensome and more liberating. Emily's first week back proved to be a trial of her resolve. She spent her days caring for patients, the visual tapestry of their lives streaming through her mind. However, every evening at home dragged heavy with indecision, drowning in the sea of online applications and potential classes. Frustration crept in like a thief in the night. Why was she hesitating? Was it fear of failure? Was she afraid that her aspirations would lead her to isolate David? She grabbed a notebook, scribbling her emotional turmoil as if mapping a battle plan. But then another thought unfurled: what if pursuing this path could help her become a better partner? Emily pondered her fear deeply. It was rooted in the notion that she needed to uphold a particular image of herself, one that was complete and whole without the pursuit of new challenges. She discovered this was merely a shadow cast by her insecurities. Determined, Emily set an intense plan of action. Every day after her shifts, she would allot time to prayerfully sift through schools, classes, and pathways to a new beginning. In her mind, every potential class was not just a step away from David but rather a step toward becoming her best self, a self she could share with him later. But just as she felt a volcanic surge of ambition ignite within her, the phone buzzed. It was David, curious about her day, his message brightening her spirits. The connection between them felt like a double-edged sword. On one side was comfort, and on the other, doubt nipped at her heels. Would sharing her intentions today make him question her commitment to them? Emily hesitated, contemplating her reply. Was she ready to lay bare her aspirations? After a moment, she chose honesty over fear. "Hey. I was thinking about what we talked about over dinner. I want to pursue more education. It's scary, but I'm excited." The response came almost instantly, enveloped with enthusiasm. "Emily, I'm thrilled. This is big. You should go for it." Tears pricked her eyes, overwhelmed by the buoyancy of support. Did he genuinely understand? Could he embrace her change? She spoke into the phone, her pulse racing. "Thank you for believing in me." Yet, as their conversation wound down, the knot returned to her stomach. The fear of alienation loomed overhead, the possibility that this journey could chart a path diverging from their shared trajectory. Emily sat alone on her bed that night, crafting an outline of goals on crisp paper. Each line represented a step she'd take, but somewhere beneath the ambition lurked doubt like an uninvited guest. The list hung before her like fate penned in ink. Would she rise to confront her fears and emerge stronger or collapse under the weight of expectation? She needed to reconcile her ambitions with her relationship, ensuring neither was sacrificed in pursuit of the other. As she gazed at her reflection, a new determination brimming within her, she whispered, "It's time to act. Time to claim what's mine, even if it's unsettling." Suddenly, she recoiled as if a tidal wave of realization crashed over her. Was she truly ready to embrace the tensions brewing within her personal aspirations? Emily fell back against the pillows, breathless, heart racing, fully aware that navigating this path would demand a confrontation not just of her own anxieties but of the truths yet unspoken to David. What other surprises awaited her as she embraced this tumultuous journey? The days slipped into weeks, and Emily found herself reborn in resolve. Each morning, the hospital's fluorescent lights gleamed with promise. She donned her scrubs, feeling like an agent of change, eager to embrace the ambitions she was beginning to shape. Yet even as she navigated the hustle and bustle of her shifts, a creeping tension gnawed at her thoughts. Determined to implement her plan, she dedicated evenings to searching for programs, her living room table cluttered with brochures and papers. Each program offered a glimpse into her future, yet the choices felt daunting. Nursing was no longer just a job, it had become her calling, and aspiring for more felt like stepping into an uncharted ocean. As she flipped through the options, an article caught her eye, "The Impact of Advanced Practice on Patient Care." She skimmingly read how advanced education shaped better healthcare outcomes, igniting her passion further. This new knowledge screamed at her she could make a difference in ways she had yet to imagine. It wasn't just about her, it was about the patients, the lives she could touch with added expertise. Urged by a sudden burst of inspiration, she enrolled in an introductory course online, her first tangible, albeit small, step on this monumental journey. It felt surreal to click that submit button and claim a space in the class. Adrenaline surged through her, chasing away doubts. But as quickly as that rush came, a semblance of fear followed. What if she struggled? What if work became overwhelming? That night, she sat on her bed, reflecting on the whirlwind of emotions coursing through her. David would be home soon, they had plans to unwind together, yet an undercurrent of anxiety rippled beneath her anticipation. Could she balance her commitment to growth alongside her acceptance of shared moments with him? When David stepped through the door, the familiar smile wearing his face both soothed her and provoked uncertainty. His warmth filled the space, igniting a delightful and comforting reality. Yet as they settled in for dinner, the tension brewed like a storm. "Hey, how's that thoughtful reflection you've been going through?" he inquired, eyebrows raised with genuine curiosity. The questions from earlier returned, but she steeled herself inwardly. "It's been enlightening," she replied, her voice steady, though her heart raced. "I signed up for that course we talked about." His eyes widened with excitement. "That's fantastic, Em. I knew you'd go for it." But as she watched him, an inkling of doubt returned. Was he as enthusiastic about her growth as he made it seem? Or was it just a mask to hide his own insecurities about their future? As the night wore on, they bantered and laughed, but Emily could feel a schism forming in her heart. The newfound ambition sent ripples through her relationship, and despite his supportive words, she found a tepid distance developing. Could she voice her apprehensions without scaring him, or worse, herself? That self-doubt resurfaced while they brushed their teeth, an ordinary part of their shared life now weighed down by a profound realization. "David?" she asked, the question hanging in the air like a delicate thread. "What do you think about my pursuing a master's degree?" Well, he began, the sincerity clear in his voice, if it's what you want, I'm all for it. But what if it takes you away from us? A harshness settled in the silence, and her heart raced. This was the confrontation she had feared. She struggled to articulate her feelings. I don't want to drift apart. But this drives me, David. I want to be the best version of myself, for me and for us. He met her gaze seriously, the look in his eyes a mirror to her own fears. What about us, Emily? If you're moving up, where does that leave me? Each word was a reminder of her trepidation. Could she ascend without causing their foundation to crumble? They stood there, toothpaste forgotten, emotions coursing through them. The silence soon thickened, the boundaries of her ambitions versus their life together collided in an alarming clash. Could she continue ascending while keeping the relationship intact? Desperate to reach clarity, Emily realized she had to face the situation head-on. Her resolve might demand more than ambition. Trust was essential. She needed to dig deeper, confront both her aspirations and the deep familial bond that grounded her. As thoughts spun, she cautiously took a step back. I need to figure this out. Can we talk more tomorrow? David nodded, eyes glistening with concern but understanding. Take your time, Em. Alone in their stillness that night, Emily felt both fear and determination converging like two opposed forces, each intertwining in her heart. The conflict of her dreams and their life together had ignited a newfound urgency within her. What awaited her in the days to come? Only one truth enveloped her: she had to confront her deepest fears, their relationship tethered precariously between love and ambition. As she drifted off to sleep, images of the future flooded her mind, an unwavering struggle between her aspirations and the man who illuminated her world. What deeper revelations would emerge from the depths of this tension, and would Emily uncover the answers she desperately sought? Emily awoke the next morning with a renewed sense of urgency. The rays of sunlight poured into her room, illuminating not just the space but also the possibilities ahead of her. She took a moment to breathe deeply, mentally preparing for the day. Today was not just another shift at the hospital, it was a chance to take practical steps toward her larger ambitions. As she arrived at work, Emily felt a stronger connection to her environment. The busy sounds of the hospital, the chatter of nurses, the faint beeping of monitors was no longer just the backdrop of her daily routine. Instead, it felt like a symphony underscoring her resolve. She embraced her responsibilities, focusing on patient care with a more fervent determination. Each interaction reinforced her commitment, not only to her role as a nurse but to the potential future that awaited her in advanced practice. During her break, Emily walked to the hospital garden, a tranquil escape from the chaos inside. She reflected on her earlier conversations with David, dissecting the tension that simmered beneath their surface. What if she pursued her dreams while also nurturing their relationship? She opened her laptop, her heartbeat quickening as she revisited the course details and began to draft a study schedule. With each keystroke, she felt clarity returning. This was manageable and necessary. But amidst the burgeoning excitement came a persistent voice of doubt: was she being selfish? What unforeseen repercussions could follow her ambitions? To quiet that voice, she needed tangible achievements. She looked at the time and decided to seek mentoring from a senior nurse she respected, Maria, who had successfully navigated the balance of professional growth and personal life. After her shift, Emily approached Maria, who was busy organizing supplies in the nurse's station. Hey, Maria, do you have a minute? I'd love your advice. Of course, Emily. Maria said, her tone inviting. What's on your mind? As they settled into a quieter corner of the station, Emily shared her plans for the Master S program and the complexities of her relationship with David. Maria listened intently, nodding understandingly. I understand how challenging it can be, Maria began, to want more for yourself while also fearing the impact on your personal life. Ambition can be a double-edged sword. Emily felt a surge of gratitude. Maria's insights grounded her. How did you manage to balance your career growth and your family? It wasn't easy, Maria admitted. Having family support was critical. We all have to negotiate our ambitions with love. Communication is key. Have you discussed your goals with David in terms of how you both can support each other? I tried, but I don't know if I expressed myself clearly. I want him to be on board, but I also don't want to bring him down. The weight of her confession hung heavy between them. Maria smiled gently. When I pursued my career, I made it a point to include my husband in the decision-making. It's vital that he sees your ambitions as a shared journey, one that can enhance your relationship rather than diminish it. Empowered by Maria's words, Emily felt an awakening inside her. If she could embrace her aspirations while inviting David to be part of the conversation, perhaps they could weave a shared narrative of growth. Returning home that evening, Emily found David in their small living room, engrossed in a book. The sight ignited a familiar warmth, but under that comfort lurked the unresolved tension. "Hey," she said softly, setting her bag down. "Can we talk? I've been thinking about us." David looked up, a flash of concern crossing his face. "Of course. Is everything okay?" "Things are great, I just have a lot on my mind about my course, our future, everything." She took a deep breath, grounding herself. "I want you to know that involving you in this journey is so important to me." As they spoke, Emily saw the flicker of hope in David's eyes. She articulated her vision, her desires, and the importance of mutual support in achieving their goals. With each thoughtful exchange, they peeled back layers of misunderstanding and doubt that had taken root between them. Feeling a sense of tangible progress, she realized that their growth wasn't just a matter of parallel tracks. They could forge a path together. However, as she turned from the conversation, Emily noticed a flicker of concern on David's face. There was a point of hesitation, a question that roiled just below the surface. What deeper fears resided within him, and how could they weather this transformation together? The room buzzed as uncertainty settled in her stomach. Could they truly harmonize their aspirations and relationship, or was this just the beginning of a deeper conflict waiting to unfold? A new chapter beckoned for both of them, but would they be ready to navigate what lay ahead? Early the next morning, Emily awoke again with the sun seeping through the curtains, but today, it felt different. The light mixed with a restless energy, urging her to take decisive action. The conversation with David had unearthed something she hadn't anticipated, a lingering fear that she might be uprooting the delicate balance they had worked to establish, yet an undeniable excitement coursed through her, igniting her ambition. Arriving at the hospital, she noticed the usual whirlwind of activity but felt a new sense of purpose within it. Each patient she attended to became a stepping stone for her aspirations. She embraced her responsibilities as if each swing of the stethoscope or gentle reassurance to a patient was a layer of the foundation for her future. During a quiet moment in the break room, Emily reflected on her emerging self. Could ambition coexist with love? She could visualize her Master's program, its materials spread around her like an intricate puzzle just waiting to be assembled. She felt resolute but conscious of the complexity. The price of her educational journey could also entail strain on her relationship. Dreams and reality collided in the snippets of her thoughts, and she needed a plan. Throughout her shift, she decided to take Maria's advice to heart. It wasn't enough to simply share her dreams with David. She needed to invite him into the process, making him feel integral rather than sidelined. After a busy shift filled with patient care, Emily felt fatigued yet invigorated. Purpose tucked neatly behind each decision she made today knotted hope tightly within her chest. That hope drove her to approach David again, determined. She prepared herself for an exploration of how they could adapt to each other's aspirations, confident that they could transform this new chapter into one filled with shared victories. As she entered their home, she found David scrolling through his phone. He looked up at her arrival, and she could see the comfort in his eyes. But behind that warmth was a hint of anxiety that hadn't yet dissipated. "Can we talk for a minute?" she asked, a gentle urgency in her voice that he put his phone down, an undertone of concern shadowing his features. "Sure. What's up?" Emily took a moment to gather her thoughts, carefully articulating her vision. "I want to share this journey with you. My plans for the Master's program, they're important to me, but they can also be for us. I want to know how we can build our future together while I pursue this." As she spoke, she watched David's expressions shift from guardedness to contemplation. The walls of tension that had previously separated them began to crumble. "I appreciate you wanting to include me, Em," he replied slowly. "But I guess I keep thinking about how things might change. What if your schedule becomes too overwhelming, and we lose time together?" The truth behind his hesitance flooded Emily with empathy. She understood the fear of feeling left behind, yet this tension was not merely a hurdle, it was a point they could evolve from. "I get that," she admitted, "but communication is our lifeline. We can establish check-ins, make adjustments as we go. I want this to be a partnership." The conversation shifted, flowing between their aspirations and fears. Emily laid bare her dreams, while David voiced his concerns, not just about his feelings but also the potential strain on their relationship. Each revelation drew them closer, melting away the misunderstandings that had lingered like shadows. At this moment, Emily recognized not just David's involvement but also realized her capacity for vulnerability. She could assert her identity without apology. Taking that step toward mutual growth was a revelation in itself. They were not merely navigating ambitions together, they were in the trenches of personal evolution, wrestling with choices that defined them individually. But as the conversation turned to practical solutions, Emily sensed another reality creeping in, a deeper fear lingering in David's eyes that he hadn't voiced. "Emily," he hesitated, "what if this doesn't work out? What does that mean for us?" His words felt heavy and loaded, cracking open the door to a possibility she hadn't dared to confront. The question hung in the air, thick with uncertainty. How would they navigate the challenging waters of ambition and love without losing sight of each other? As the weight of that question settled uneasily between them, Emily's heart raced. It was clear that this was not merely about her career, this was a profound crossroads that could redefine their entire relationship. Would they cultivate a supportive partnership, or would their aspirations drive a wedge between them? This chapter promised a turbulent journey ahead, one filled with choices that could alter the very fabric of their lives. As days turned into a week, Emily found herself grappling with the specter of uncertainty that had cropped up during that pivotal conversation. Each shift at the hospital became a battleground where she fought against her growing doubts while trying to muster enthusiasm for her ambitions. The pressure weighed heavier than ever. She wanted to prove to herself and David that she could seamlessly blend her personal and professional dreams, yet with each passing day, the fine line between aspiration and ridicule seemed to blur. One evening, while preparing for her night shift, Emily caught her reflection in the bathroom mirror. Her brows furrowed slightly as she focused on the tired lines tracing her face. Fatigue was beginning to carve itself into her features. What was becoming of her? The very drive that had propelled her forward started to feel burdensome. She was navigating the dual currents of ambition and love, each threatening to pull her under if she lost her equilibrium. In stark contrast, Maria's words echoed in Emily's mind, a steady reminder that dreams could foster connection, not just distance. Yet, the challenge of balancing her aspirations with David's fears loomed large. A transformative idea struck her: she could share her journey in a way that involved David more directly. That weekend, they were signed up to volunteer together at the hospital's South blood donation drive. It felt like the perfect opportunity to integrate both their worlds. Emily arrived early to help set up. The ebb of patients flowed like clockwork, nurses divided duties, and doctors led conversations with spirited engagements that recharged her. As the day unfolded, Emily saw many faces, each representing stories of courage and endurance. Their determination fed her resolve, so when she spotted David arriving, carrying a box of supplies, a spark ignited within her. "Hey, you made it!" she exclaimed, her smile buoyant despite the buzzing noise of the hospital. He grinned back, though the tightness in his jaw indicated he was still tethered to his anxieties. She drew him closer, incorporating him into the preparation of the space. Each interaction with donors served as a reminder of the community's strength, the unyielding threads of shared human experience knitting lives together. As the day progressed, Emily found herself leading groups of eager donors, her words flowing effortlessly as she painted a vivid picture of the impact one donation could have on countless lives. The energy in the room was infectious, and she caught David watching her from across the room. His expression shifted from concern to awe. It was in that moment that she realized how much she radiated passion when she connected with others. Later, during a lull, she approached him. "See? This is what I love, being part of something bigger than myself," she said, her eyes bright with excitement. "That was really inspiring," he replied. But she sensed a lingering hesitation beneath his compliment. "What are you thinking?" Emily probed, willing herself to confront the internal barriers they both faced. David hesitated, then sighed. "What if you become that person, the one who gets lost in the work, leaves me behind?" The truth settled uncomfortably in the air. Emily reached to touch his arm gently, feeling the warmth radiating from him grounded her even more. "I don't want that," she affirmed, her voice steady. "But I also can't ignore who I am. I'm ready to take the leap and hope it strengthens us instead of breaking us apart." That evening, as the last of the donors left and the team began to pack away the equipment, Emily and David engaged in light-hearted banter, but beneath every laugh, she could sense an undercurrent of raw vulnerability. They were just beginning to navigate their intricate dance of dreams. As they finally left the hospital, questions swirled in Emily's mind. Would David's concerns transform into understanding? What if the intimacy she sought was at odds with her own ambitions? The path before her felt no less daunting, but it bristled with potential, igniting something. Deep within her soul, lying in bed that night, Emily resolved to confront the question of identity head-on. She needed clarity, not just for herself but for David too. It was time to reframe their narrative, but as the clock ticked toward dawn, a nameless fear crept in. What if the truth she sought revealed an aspect of herself she wasn't quite ready to confront? In the dim light of the room, Emily closed her eyes, and for the first time, the weight of that daunting question loomed larger than before. How far would she go to protect her aspirations, and at what cost? Emily stood in front of the mirror, determination radiating from her reflection. She had confronted not just her fears but the very essence of her identity. The exhaustion that had shadowed her for so long was finally being replaced by a newfound sense of purpose. Each dawn brought the promise of growth, and she could feel the weight of her ambitions shifting into momentum. Her conversations with David lay dormant, but today was the day she would reignite their dialogue. Boundaries now shimmered between them like the sun rising over a horizon, compelling, yet filled with uncertainty. But Emily had learned that vulnerability was strength, and this realization empowered her to stride boldly into the future she envisioned. Days had morphed since the blood donation drive into a tangible evolution of Emily's aspirations. She consciously sought ways to coordinate her nursing ambitions with her relationship. She had taken small steps, studying between shifts, and setting aside quality time with Ben, and most importantly, checking in with David consistently. As she entered the hospital that day, her eyes gleamed with anticipation of what lay ahead. She spotted Sarah, her trusted colleague, who had always championed her professional growth. "Emily, I heard about your recent progress. People are impressed," Sarah exclaimed, bubbling with excitement. "I'm trying to balance everything," Emily replied, pride swelling within her. "But it's more than just work. I finally feel in control of my future." That evening, she had made plans to meet David at their favorite local cafe. It was a comfortable space, perfect for heart-to-heart conversations that didn't overwhelm. As she sat across from him, she could see the subtle transition in his expression. Warmth tinged with unease hinted at the very real concern lingering in the air between them. "Hey," he began, breaking the silence that had stretched between them. "I've been thinking about everything. I see how passionate you are, and I admire that." "Thank you, David. It means the world to me," she replied, her heart racing at the potential of this conversation. "I want us to thrive together, and for me, that means pursuing my master's, but I need your support." "I'm here for you." "But I worry," he confessed, his gaze locking onto hers. "I don't want you to lose sight of us. This is about merging our worlds, not dividing them," she reassured him, maintaining eye contact that mirrored her sincerity. "I'm determined to grow professionally to give more to our family. But I promise you, connection will be our foundation." A spark ignited between them. Just by voicing her intentions, Emily felt layers of hesitation peeling away. If she had fought obstacles her whole life to achieve her dreams, could she not also fight for the relationship they shared? "Let us create our paths together," she suggested, taking a deep breath. "We can schedule regular check-ins to see how we're both feeling about it all. Your insights matter to me." He nodded slowly, deliberating, but the doubt in his eyes began to flicker with understanding. "It could work," David mused. "I've always respected your drive. Just promise to share your journey with me." "I promise." "This is only the beginning," Emily affirmed, feeling the surge of excitement course through her veins. "Just as you're making strides in your career, this venture is equally critical for me." Their conversation transformed into an uplifting exchange of dreams and aspirations. As they shared their visions, Emily felt a rush of exhilaration. It was the affirmation she sought, the crucial realization that they could support each other through every choice they made. Days turned into a rhythm of productive dialogue. Emily enrolled in a Master S program, and each assignment brought clarity to her purpose. David became her steadfast anchor, cheering her on and sharing the responsibilities of home and parenting like they had always been a team. As months passed, she noticed a profound shift not only in her confidence but in their relationship. The fear that once loomed as a dark cloud began dissipating, replaced with shared joy in their joint growth. Each evening, they would spend time discussing their goals, allowing their visions for the future to converge like two rivers forming a mighty stream. And then came the day she had been waiting for, the successful completion of her first semester. Surrounded by her colleagues, Emily stood among them, a sense of accomplishment swelling inside her. The culmination of hard work and dedication sparked a flame she hadn't realized had been waiting to be ignited. Days later, as she approached David, her heart raced with excitement. "I did it. I passed my first semester," she declared, almost breathless. He rose from the couch, pulling her into a warm embrace. "I knew you could. You're unstoppable." His eyes gleamed with genuine pride, and in that moment, she felt the validation she had longed for both personally and professionally. Emily reflected on her journey. No longer merely a nurse or a single mother, she had grown into a powerful force. With solidity replaced uncertainty, she stood tall, knowing that she was now able to weave passion into the fabric of her family's life without losing herself. As she entered the hospital on her way to another shift, she took a moment to observe the comforting chaos around her: the busy nurses, the steady rhythm of footsteps, and the beeping machines. Each sound served as a reminder of how far she had come. Gone were the shadows of doubt and fear. Emily had found her place not just in her work but in her role as Ben's mother and David's partner. Now it was time to empower others. Strumming the chords of her journey, she realized that the light she had ignited inside herself could inspire others too. With this clarity guiding her forward, Emily opened herself to possibilities, envisioning a future filled with accomplishment for herself and a legacy for Ben. Transformative achievements lay ahead, she firmly believed it. It became clear that her journey was not isolated in ambition but was a relentless pursuit of fulfillment that could echo and inspire countless lives. This was just the beginning. Could your life change like Emily's? You need to subscribe now. Show your support and don't miss these empowering stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about Emily's journey and share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who urgently need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second.